I would love to ask them what their understanding of borders is.
Well, that's a great question. I know of Ellen Jones. I don't know that I've met her. I don't think I have, but that name certainly means something to me. I think that's a great question, but I mean, in a political sense, so much of the national life of the United States, especially in the last few years, has been this like catastrophic focus, on the southern border and this, all this horrible political rhetoric that accompanies it. We're seeing it also in the Mediterranean. And people trying to cross borders at risk of their lives, and so a border is a very, very tragic thing. I think in a geopolitical sense, a border between languages I don't think exists. We speak of languages as being separate entities, right? But a mentor of mine named David Bellows studied at Oxford with a linguist who specialized in something called uh, oh my God, what did he call it? Uh, I'm blanking on the word. But anyway, it's a linguistic theory that somehow all languages are sort of a single linguistic entity. And there may be like, subdivisions, like regional subdivisions among them. But at their edges, they're very, very porous and they're constantly seeping into each other. And they're all drawing from, deep roots that connect them to each other. Integrationist linguistics, and and so the dividing them apart from each other, which is the way we learn them and it's the way we use them in dictionaries, but that's the way they work, ultimately might not be as useful as we think it is. And I have a colleague at the Graduate Center, a retired colleague named Ofelia Garcia, who put that to use in terms of the urban classroom. She proposed something called translanguaging. And the idea is that students like mine who come into my classroom and are so extraordinarily multilingual, are really not separating between their languages, right? They're drawing on the full linguistic breadth of their resources, and trying to bring all of that to bear in the classroom, which can sometimes mean that they will use different languages in the classroom. And I think that a lot of education, especially in the United States, has tended to prioritize achieving fluency in the English at the expense of everything else, right? And her kind of revolutionary idea about translanguaging was that we shouldn't view these other skills, these other resources that the students can draw upon, as being in some way contrary, to what we're trying to do with them in English. On the contrary, these are superpowers that they have, that can enrich the classroom, that can enrich their lives, that are a skill that they can bring to bear on their economic success, right? Which is a very, very different way of looking at linguistic diversity in the classroom than had generally prevailed. So I like to try and do away with borders when it comes to languages, as the title "Words Without Borders" sort of hints.